Hi guys, this is Carolina Varsity. We're in our 2015 season, and this is championship week for football here in North Carolina. And we've got the 4A state championship game where we have the Eastern Region champions, Greenville Rose, playing the Western Region champions, Charlotte Catholic. This will be at the BB&T field in Winston-Salem. That's where Wake Forest plays. Great place to for high school championships. A lot smaller than Keenan and Carter Finley. If you're looking for games and you want just a good environment, this will be a great place. The game's at 8:05 p.m. I'm Dale Ross.
And I'm Matt Marta Pittman.
And we're going to take a look. First, I'm going to run, just give you some quick info. Rose, this is their 7th appearance in state championships. They're 5-1 in state championships. I watched them a lot when I would go up to see Independence. And, Rose, they played both the 4A and 4AAs together back then, didn't separate them. Saw a lot of those when Rose won 4 in a row. They've been here, but they haven't been here in a while. It's been since 2006 when we saw them at Duke beat West Charlotte 26-12. So Rose, the CV report, the Carolina Varsity report we put out each week, start at the beginning of the season, carry it all the way through. We project the entire season. It's obviously too late now to see what happens in this week versus starting at week 1, but check it out next year. Rose ranks 15th overall in the state in our power ratings. They're 14th overall in 4A. Monroe actually is ranked ahead of them.
Oh, wow. Just
as a note, they're number 1 in 4A in scoring. They put the points up, 51.4 points a ball game.
Wow.
They're not rated in defense, so their defense is not in the top 20. Mm-hmm. And they're the number 12 4A scoring differential, 20.9 points per game. And just to hit the same thing for Charlotte Catholic, just so you get a look at what we're looking at, Charlotte Catholic is number 5 overall. They're number 5 in 4A. They're not ranked in scoring offense, but they are ranked in scoring defense, number 2 in 4A, allowing only 8.1 points a ball game. This is where Charlotte Catholic guys make their money, is on defense. They earn their bread on defense. They're number 9 4A scoring differential, 21.9 points a ball game. Players to look at, or some things that you may look at in your breakdown just real quickly. Rose is a very, very diverse, the most diverse offense that I looked at in of all the teams playing in the championship, almost 50-50 in play calling.
Yeah.
47 versus 53%, 47% passing, 53% running. And gosh, they put up 38-45 passing, and rushing 27-98. Players to watch: quarterback number 11, Ryan Goodwin, 3,148 yards, 45 TDs. And get this, he has a QB rating of 121.9.
I'm gonna tell you something about that kid. That kid is accurate as a passer that I've seen on film in a while. He puts the ball where he wants it. He'll put his, if receivers are in space, he'll throw it to where they can gain yards after the catch consistently. He really runs that spread offense very, very well.
Yeah, he's a very, very good ball player, no doubt. If you're going to hurt Catholic, a good quarterback is where you always want to start.
Yep.
And they've got it. And then, of course, he has to throw the ball to some people. And first of all, they spread the ball around a lot. But I did pick out 3 players. Really, they spread it around to the list of guys catching multiple passes is pretty long. But their number 1 player is Clemson commit Cornell Powell, number 3. He has 1,499 yards on the season receiving, 25 TDs. He has 27.45 yards all purpose. He is a phenomenal player.
Good grief. This kid does it all. And you get the ball in his hands. Obviously, you're going to Clemson for a reason.
Exactly.
He does electric things with the football in his hands and in special teams. So if you're Catholic, your focus is trying to limit what this guy does to you and force the other guys to step up and make plays on a consistent basis.
How good is the kid? The national champions want him.
Uh-oh.
That's right. I called it out already. Number 7, Myron Vines. He's another guy they're going to throw the ball to. Now, Powell gets it 61 times. He's gotten it over the season. Vines is 39 times, 643 yards, 6 TDs.
Mm-hmm.
And then another player to look out for, number 6, Caleb Edwards, 36 times, 474 yards, 9 TDs. So they do spread the ball around. You're not going to see the ball always thrown to number 3, though most times that's where it's going to go. But this quarterback, from what I saw, he not only throws the ball accurately, but he reads very well. And so he reads down the tree, and he knows, if you're going to put your best guy on Powell and he's locked down in the play, he'll go to number 2 receiver. And I believe I've seen him even read out to number 3. So gotta watch these other guys. So this is kind of offense that can hurt a Charlotte Catholic. And then they have run the ball a good bit as well. And their number 1 guy running the ball, Dontavius Harris, 1,882 yards.
I'm gonna tell you something about this guy. This guy has incredible balance and vision in the inside run game. I saw him a lot running the inside power out of the shotgun, and his vision on that, when that guard comes to kick out or lead up, depending on the block scheme, he makes the right cuts off of that block, and he's got the speed to go the distance. And he's a very, very impressive running back.
A large chunk of the run game will go through him, 24 TDs as well, but very, very good ball player, most definitely.
Yeah.
Defensively, you want to look at those guys too, and there's some pretty impressive defensive guys over there. Number 40, Alex Neese. He has 47 solo tackles on the season, 100 tackles overall.
Mm-hmm.
Number 5, Josh Young, 37 solo tackles, 89 tackles overall. Guy that could give Catholic a little bit of problem will be number 44, Michael Hickner. 4 sacks, 14 solo tackles, 30 tackles. Kind of I was able to see more of him actually in some film, and then number 24, and I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly, Quade Ward. 5 interceptions, 3 PBUs, 16 solos, and 34 tackles. So I figured if Catholic's going to throw the ball, they don't throw the ball a lot, but they do throw the ball. He's going to be one of the guys that's you're going to have to, your Catholic will have to contend with, so your Catholic players may want to keep an eye out for him.
Right.
Flipping over to look at Catholic. Now, we told you how many times Rose has been here. Rose has been here a lot, and they were back in that Independence run. Rose was also, they kept saying, oh, we could beat Independence. We're as good as Independence. And they actually got a national ranking, I think, in 2005 maybe. They made some national rankings. But you know what? Catholic's no stranger to the state championships.
No, not at all.
This is their 8th visit to the state championships. Their record is 3-4 so far, so they'd like to even that up and make it 4-4. They do have 3 state championships. They were here last year and lost to Newbern in the state championship game. Of course, players will look at there, and some of these are, obviously all these are going to, we know the Charlotte guys, but the quarterback, John Walton, is the first guy to take a look at. Catholic throws the ball. They don't throw the ball a lot. 1,338 yards on the season, 161 pass plays versus 553 rush plays. But 1,338 yards. He's the quarterback. He's a good quarterback. He has a QB rating of 107.7. He's a smart kid, makes good throws. 15 TDs on the season. I like him.
They trust him to throw the ball more. This is why Coach Brodowitz chose to open up the offense, because he's had this kid the past 2 years. And the biggest thing with him is arm strength is pretty good, but his accuracy
Yeah.
is really impressive. I mean, I've seen teams be on some of these play action passes that Catholic runs, and he'll just put the ball right in the right spot. And he had that big pass last week to Connor Miller to kind of clinch
Mm-hmm.
that game up at Dudley. So he's battle tested. He's been through the wars. And if it's a situation where Rose decides to put 9 in the box to try to slow down the run game,
Right.
he will drop back and throw the ball. Sometimes it's not even off play action. He'll just drop back and throw it, and you got a guy there that he'll like throw to a
Exactly.
lot.
So the guy he's going to throw to most times, number 81, Jonathan Newman. He has 6 TDs on the season, 32 catches, 505 yards. No, those aren't outstanding numbers when you look at like the numbers that we have up here for. Um, oh gosh, I'm Powell. Sorry, I couldn't think of his name, but lots of for Catholic. First of all, he's going to come to you either out of that tight end position. He may play the split end, where they split him out a little bit. He's going to hit you in a traditional tight end type passes, but he will also go downfield. As we say, they split him out. And he good hands, good size, good athlete.
Yeah, he's got deceptive speed. You look at him, you don't think he's gonna get by you, but I saw this kid get deep on South Mech, who has very good athletes.
Mm-hmm.
So don't let if you fall asleep on him. If you're Rose, he can burn you, and he's burned people 6 times this season. So,
Exactly. And they will do it. They're going to
yeah.
suck you in and they're going to hit you with that play action. And this is probably who it's going to go to. I'll tell you that. You've seen it on film. It's still going to happen. And of course, they run the ball a lot. That's Charlotte Catholic, always has been. And, wing T offense is not too much of a modified wing T. It's more it's closer to the traditional Delaware wing type T. Number 2, Jared Anderson, player of the week this week, player of the week a lot of times this year.
Oh, yeah.
1,898 yards on the season, 25 TDs, 2143 all-purpose. They will dump the ball to him every once in a while.
Yeah.
Good ball player.
When we talk about Jared Anderson, we talked about him last week. We remarked about his vision, his fact that he doesn't fumble very often, the fact that he runs hard every play, the fact that he's made big plays in big games all year long. He is pretty much the offense for the most part. So if you're Rose, you got to stop number 2.
Exactly.
If you don't stop them, they're going to keep giving it to them and giving it to them and giving it to them. Then they're going to hit you with the play action.
That's right.
5-to-1 ratio, like you mentioned, run to pass. So 5 runs and that play action's coming.
It's coming at you. Now, they will sometimes hand the ball to 33, Angel Marrero.
He's a good player, too.
He is a very good ball player. They've handed the ball to him 104 times, so maybe 1 out of every 3 he'll get the ball. Or actually 1 out of every 4 maybe. 547 yards, 4 TDs.
2 places to watch Marrero. Play action passes in the flat, kick return game.
Yeah.
He's hurt teams in both of those areas this year.
That's right. So really what Catholic gets their bread and butter, their meat and everything else, they punch their ticket on his defense.
Mm-hmm.
And the defense has caused 15 fumbles, recovered 12, and they have 12 interceptions on the season. I thought that was a pretty interesting stat as I looked down stats. And the first guy you want to keep an eye on is number 12, Alexander Gagnon. Prime bowler, 82 solo tackles. And one of the things you're going to notice,
That's amazing.
These Catholic players, as I list out, I'm going to list solo tackles because they have a large number of solo tackles, and the reason is they're very well taught. They're very well coached. They understand tackling techniques, and thus, when the kid locks up, he's probably going to take you down before assistants can get there. That happens a lot because the kids do know how to tackle. This is a good tackling team. That's the number one thing that makes them a great defense is they are a great tackling team. You're going to look at them and you're going to think, oh, they're not loaded with all the kind of athletes that everybody else has. You don't have to be if you do your jobs and you know how to tackle. So 82 solo tackles, 133 tackles on the season, 4 caused fumbles.
Yeah, this kid was one we highlighted last week too. I mean, he's a big kid, sheds blocks, great zone drops in his coverage. Um, he's a leader. You don't make the Shrine Bowl just because. You have to be nominated, and then coaches choose you.
That's right.
So that tells you a lot about this kid and the way that he plays the game of football. He's very impressive, and he's a leader on what Coach Brodowitz says is the best defense in the state, and I think they proved that last week.
I think they did. I said that going into the game last week. I thought they had. There was a lot of talk about how Dudley's defense, but this is a very, very good defense, and this is one of the best linebackers in the state. Number 54, Grayson Crone, 68 solo tackles, 115 tackles overall, and 1 caused fumble. Just another key element in that huge defense, or that great defense. And of course, you mentioned him a second ago, but number 6, Connor Miller.
Yeah.
So he's got 10 sacks on the season, 60 solo tackles, 94 tackles overall.
And I tell you, that's the one you're going to have to watch if you're Rose in this spread offense. Rose offensive line, especially their tackles, are going to have to watch this kid. He'll come up on the edge, and he'll come off the edge. Yeah, and he gets outside, and he comes hard.
Yep.
Sometimes I don't know if you're familiar with the term the bandit. Sometimes he'll come up at the edge of the line. Sometimes he'll drop. Sometimes he'll go. They kind of use him in that kind of form sometimes, especially against spread offenses. So this is an important kid in this game. If Rose cannot block him, and I think they're going to have a plan for him, it could be a long night for them in terms of throwing the football.
Yeah, not to slight the other guys, but he is, if Gagnon's number 1 on the defense, if you have to say these things, he's number 2, in my opinion. He's a huge, especially if you're a passing team. He is a huge threat to you. He'll mix it up. He'll give your quarterback a very tough night.
Yeah.
Number 27, James Herney. So if you're going to throw the ball, what are you throwing into? He has 4 interceptions on the season, 2 fumble recoveries, 24 solo tackles, 35 tackles overall. So I put him on here because he leads the team in interceptions with 4. Number 4, Benjamin Brodowitz. He has 6 PBUs on the season, 31 tackles, 2 interceptions. And I left his solos off, but it seemed like he had somewhere around 20 solos. I'd have to go back and look at the list. I remember he had a good number, double digit for sure. But those 2 guys are going to give you a lot of trouble back in the secondary. And then, there's another guy who he sometimes, as I've watched him, and I like this guy. I put him on here because I like this kid. He shows up more on defense, but I think he's a player that you might look out for on offense as well, and that's number 82, John Brandt. He has 7.5 sacks on the season, 55 solo tackles, 75 tackles overall. So that's number 82. And then last, this kid is so good. He's listed twice on the roster. He's listed twice in stats. So they take part of his stats and then another part of his stats. This is how good this kid is. Number 3, Jack Fonda. That's their kicker. And he is pretty good. He's 41 of 44 on his PATs, 8 of 13 field goals, 42 yards is his long. I don't have his punting stats. I don't have the punting stats for Charlotte Catholic. But Charlotte Catholic is very, very good in that end of the ball game, and that's what won that ball game for them against Vance that I was at, was their punting game. They're able to place the ball inside your 20, and in this case, inside the 10, very nicely. So could be an important part if this game is close, is the kicking game.
Exactly. So excellent points there. And you guys, a lot of talent on the field at BB&T Field are going to be in this game.
Almost definitely.
On the field, looking at this game, it's a clash of 2 different styles. You got the Catholic run game and the Rose passing game. So the Catholic run game, you're going against a defense that you say is not ranked. So, a lot of people have said, Catholic is a big favorite here just because of their defense and their run game can slow down the Rose offense.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Rose is going to have to find a way to just slow this run game down.
Right.
If they're not able to do that, then they're going to have to depend on their offense in the shootout. And, you know, normally the number one offense, in the state according to the numbers there.
Yeah.
But Catholic, the unfortunate thing for Rose is Catholic has played in Charlotte.
And played a very tough schedule, and comparatively, exactly. So Catholic has played tough teams.
Well, in Charlotte, you see a lot of spread offense.
Exactly.
So the stuff that Rose runs, they have very good talent. But it's a point at this point where when you're a great defense, it's not about the players; it's about what you do and recognizing what teams like to do.
Mm-hmm.
And once that Catholic coaching staff gets in there and diagnoses that film and breaks it down and spits it out to those players, the Rose offense is going to have some tricks up their sleeve.
Right.
Especially in the passing game. The first thing Catholic's going to do is, and I say this all the time about the Catholic defense, they're going to try to get there at 4. If they don't, then they mix it up and try to bring 5. That's when Connor Miller gets involved, starts coming off the edge. It's going to be real tough. I think the run game for Rose is going to be key if they're going to have success on offense. They're going to have to be able to run the football on those guys. They can't become one-dimensional and sit there and try to sling it, because we say it all the time. People in Charlotte think Catholic doesn't have athletes in the secondary, but they're disciplined. Right. They're a disciplined defense, and they do have athletes. They have guys that play their position well. You don't have to be a top-notch athlete to get that done, especially in high school football.
Their technique is great.
Yes.
Like I say, their discipline is good. They know their positions, and their technique is top-notch.
Right. So the Catholic run game, I think, will also help their defense out against this high-rated offense that Rose has. Looking at it on paper, you would think that they're going to have success in the run game based off of what we see. Rose passing game, it's going to be a similar thing like North Davidson here. I think Rose has to take a look at that North Davidson film and see some of the things that they did well, because they run a similar offense. Mm-hmm. And we saw the North Davidson quarterback Butts have over 300 yards passing on the Catholic defense. So it's not as if you can't execute against them. You just have to be really on your game. You have to be accurate, pinpoint. You're going to have to get the time up front to run the things that you want to run. So really, I think the key for the Rose is that offensive line. Their offensive line has to come to play football.
Oh, yeah.
Looking at them on film, they're not huge, but I think they do a good job in their assignments. They're disciplined. They don't seem to get rattled against pressure or anything like that. So it's really going to come down to the Rose offensive line if their offense is going to be able to have success here.
Yeah, if for them to have success, they're going to have to get the ball Powell. And that means that the quarterback's going to have to be able to get the ball off. And thus, Catholic can bring a lot of pressure. When you look at, and when we talked about, playing Charlotte teams, and the first round game for Catholic was a Charlotte team. It was Vance. And, I'm going to keep pointing at that, because that is, in my opinion, and I believe even after this game, that's the opinion may still hold, that'll be the hardest defense to defend that Catholic will see. And the reason being is it was scattered with D1 athletes. You got Powell going to Clemson. You got Dorn going to Carolina. 2 great receivers.
Yeah.
Goodwin's looks to be a really, really good quarterback, but then Affetti at Vance is a very good quarterback as well.
Yeah.
And Affetti had the legs under him to be able to do stuff on the ground. And Vance has a very good and big offensive line. Mm-hmm. And what I'm saying there is Catholic was still, against all these tools and these weapons, they were able to pull that game out.
Right.
You're going to have to, and a lot of it had to do with not necessarily always getting to a Fetty, but having someone there at him or two or three people at him and making him move, and thus it's a little bit tougher to make your decisions of where you're going to throw the ball and who you're going to throw the ball, especially if your first receiver was this way and you start having to run this way because of pressure. Now you're having to throw back across your body or whatever. It just makes it difficult. And I'm in agreement with you that they're going to have to offensive line. And we said that against North Davidson.
Yeah.
That offensive line is going to have to step up. If you can make things happen, I think I agree they need to run the ball, be able to run the ball. If not, then you're just going to play right into Catholic's hands. Good defenses, you start getting too one-dimensional. The good thing about this offense is it is very diversified, so they know how to flip back and forth. But that run game is going to have to work for you. You may have to do some more screening or something than what you have done to try to get things moving. But I think your best option might be to try to get Catholic into a fast pace where they have to keep up with you. If you can score and score and score, that's great. I certainly wouldn't come out with the thoughts I'm going to slow this game down, because they're going to.
No, not for Rose. No.
They're going to do that for you already. Your opportunities are going to be less. So I think it's going to come down to it's going to come down to that offense of Rose versus the defense of Catholic, and who was the ultimate winner there.
Well, Catholic believes they have the best defense in the state. They're facing the number one offense in the state according to those rankings.
According to these rankings.
Yeah.
And I think on paper, not just rankings, that Catholic's defense is one of the best defenses that I've seen play. I've seen some very good. I saw a very good defense Friday night, but they don't have the size, etc., that this team has. They don't have the discipline, the technique. It's just the great thing to say about Catholic is they are well coached. They're coachable kids that are well coached. They play their positions like they're supposed to. So you're going to look at them and you're going to say, oh, they're going to be slow, and they're not going to be as athletic. And
that's a bad assumption.
Yeah, you're gonna get a little play that's broken, and you're sitting up here in the stands, and you're going to think, oh, there's a big play. And next thing you know, the kid's going to close it down because he's got the angle. He knows the way to play the field. So. Going to be an interesting game. The report says, the report says Charlotte Catholic 42, Rose 26.
Wow.
So
high
scoring game. That'd be a high scoring game for Catholic for sure. So it's not giving a lot of respect to Rose's defense, and giving a lot of respect to Rose's offense to say they can get 26 on Catholic.
Yeah, that is a lot of respect.
I would think if you're going to win the ball game, if you can hold Catholic to 21, if you hit that 26. But like I say with a lot of these big games, and I used to say it back in the Indy days, the first thing is you need to hold them to 21 or less. And that's going to be the case here. And obviously, if you can hold them to much, much less, your chances go up. But 21 points, really, if it starts getting above 21, I just think it's going to be difficult for Rose to score much more than that.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Just haven't seen the Catholic defense so much, and knowing the caliber of players they have over there, and the fact that they're hungry. They got here and lost last year.
Right.
Those seniors are not going to want to go out losing again in the state title game.
So no disrespect to you guys, Rose.
Oh no, not at all. They're very impressive offensively.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You get 21 on them, I think you're doing a really good job. You got a great offense, and who knows? You might score more than that. We'll see.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's the ball game Saturday night in Winston-Salem. Enjoy it. Thanks.